Yeah.
You know what I started watching? Power Book 2.
How?
I trust me. Like I don't know. I don't know what.
Is that to read?
You know why I started watching it? Because what is it on? It's on Stars. Mm-hmm. And what were we doing? I was watching a movie with my son, and they only had it on Stars.
What's book 2 though? Is that
Power
Tariq?
Book 2? Yeah, the one with Tariq.
It's like a sequel to Power.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. It's actually pretty damn good. I'm just like, you know, I'm just saying, just like
I've given y'all heat.
If you
He's
get bored,
power.
if you get bored, like you said, you always ask how many episodes. Give it 3 episodes. That's it.
No, I'm not gonna go back to the Power well.
Yeah,
I trust me. I didn't want to do it either.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it either. But it's like it really is its own separate thing, and it's like the storyline is like. It's pretty good.
Remember,
actually, it's actually pretty good.
Remember, I never went back. I didn't go watch the new Game of Thrones.
Oh
because of
yeah.
that. Once you burn me, I'm done.
Actually,
Like, you got to
Foundation
change
got
the name
better.
of the show.
Power burn you?
Once they
no, Power
that
burns
episode where
Was it with Tommy when he had that like that AK-47?
no, it was when he
chasing the guy down?
shot Angela and she survived.
Oh yeah.
I was like, nah. Nah, you fucked up.
Come on, man.
Y'all fucked up. I ain't coming back to this shit ever again.
Nah, like
There's a
that
bunch
had-
of outlandish shit, but that was the last. I was like, nah.
But then she died. But then she actually.
See, I don't know the rest of the story because I never went back.
You don't need to know that story to watch.
I miss that sexy smile, looking forward to see you. I hope I will lose control. Love you every night, no checking the time, just us loving you all night long. I can let you go, baby, it's the right thing already know, and we're feeling.
Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid. I'm here with two-time FFPC champion AB. Alongside him is my guy, Dio the Machine. Guys, we are one day away from week 1 starting. Listen, man, this has been a long road, a lot of potting, a lot of talking, a lot of action that we've given people to start drafting. But I know that there are some people who are still drafting in their home leagues, getting ready right now. Are you guys done drafting right now? Or are you still pushing the button?
Oh man, I got maybe like 1 or 2 more.
All right. So for the most part, you're working through waivers, just trying to get ready for week 1, right?
Waivers, man. Waivers. Oh my, I forgot how painful waivers are.
So by the time this episode airs, we would have gone through our first waiver on FFPC, if you're on FFPC. But let's just talk about getting prepared for week 1. Are you guys one of those, hey, like if there's a guy that I think is going to be a year-long player on my roster, I'm going to blow my fab on him early, or you know what, I'm going to wait for maybe some running back depth, things like that, some injuries to happen, and I'm going to save some of my money for later on in the season.
Man, yeah. Cop-out answer. Every year is different. Every team is different, et cetera.
Come on.
But I will say, like, I think week 1 is very, very unique because you have not been given that sneak peek.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what's going on. And for whatever reason, I feel like this year more than ever, there's just a lot more unknowns, like when it comes to handcuffs, when it comes to guys and what their roles are going to be in the offense. So, and there's just like a lot more players that are more relevant than there ever has been in the past. Add in that this like week leading up, 2 weeks leading up, we're now starting to see all the injuries, Kelsey, Kupp, Christian Watson, Dub still injured. I mean, just to name a few. So you not only have to get prepared if you drafted any of these guys to make sure that you have backups available, but who the backup is going to be, or who's going to sort of take over, not necessarily their role, but their production, is to be seen. Like, you look at the Rams, for instance. We don't really know what's going on with the Rams.
Yeah.
I've drafted a lot of Van Jefferson, but I still don't know that he's going to really fill a significant role to where I'm going to be able to rely on him as a starter. So, yeah, I'm going to take shots on other guys in that offense. And I'm going to consider other guys in that offense because we don't know what's going to happen to Kupp. We don't know if he's going to go on IR. We don't know if he's going to have a re-injury. We already know this is a bad team. So, like, teams like that where there's just, like, a lot of question marks, especially, like, in home leagues, a lot of these guys are just sitting on the waiver.
Yeah.
These are guys that, like, I just want to get that sneak peek, but I want them to be on my bench because if the upside is there, I want to be able to capitalize on it. I don't want to have to spend all my fab. You asked about, do I blow all my fab? Most definitely not. I mean, there's got to be something like just ridiculous out there. The other thing too is like this is the con to like what I just said is that usually what's on the waiver wire, especially like in the higher stake leagues, are guys who are on bad offenses, guys who really don't have this like elite talent profile. So there's like a reason why they are there. So really it's like I'm buying opportunity and I'm buying the potential for growth.
Yeah.
So usually like, you know, if I'm gonna do it, I'm usually doing it with the younger players with the idea that if they're given the opportunity that we may see potential growth and actually have them, you know, have some production. But the idea of like spending all your fab, like that's you know, what I'm doing right now. You know, that's the antithesis of what I'm trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to accomplish is get these guys on the cheap. Get these guys for $1, $2 right now, and if they're not, if they don't pan out, then I drop them and pick up someone else, and I just continue to do that. But I want to try to do that as much as possible because to me, the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, I'm really trying to like build, make my roster as strong as possible. And we're trying to do this throughout the season, but those first 2 to 3 weeks, I think there's just so many unknowns that like that's your chance where you potentially could like really hit on a guy that could, ideally, give you production throughout the season, from weeks potentially like, 2 through 17, as opposed to like if you wait, week 10 to blow your fab or to really, get it, start using your fab, then you only get 10 to 17 weeks of production. So that's my approach at least.
Yeah, Dayo, like, what do you think about, like, the use of fab, like, early versus late? Like, I know that in my opinion, I think your best strength is, like, that in-season, like, managing a roster, turning over a roster. How do you actually do it when it comes to using fab and using a waiver wire?
So, I mean, it's relative. Like Abby was saying, every team is different. Targets are different. Not every league you're going to have the same players available. So I actually think it's better to use your fab early if the person is valuable enough, because you start saving all that fab all year and then you later realize near the end of the season you have nobody to spend it on. And then you're just sitting on money and you can't take it with you, right? So it's like I've noticed that typically when somebody breaks out, they typically break out early. So they're going to break out in those first few weeks. You're not really going to see a breakout in week 8 or week 9. The fab or the waiver wire pickups you have at that time is more so due to injury. Like somebody got hurt for the season or somebody, went on, like what we're seeing right now, IR right now, so they're going to miss 4 games, so somebody has to replace them. So those are typically the waiver wires you'll see there. And those are, if you really consider the fact that the injured player is going to come back, those are temporary waiver ads, right? Yeah. You're picking them up now. Like the year when I picked up Dearness Johnson, he was good for that 2-3 game stretch. Yeah. But then after that time period, he was worthless. Yeah. So he really couldn't help me in the tournament. He really couldn't help me actually in the playoffs. But he definitely helped me in those 3 weeks, so I was cool with that. But most guys that are actually going to have a breakout full season, you'll see it early. And I've been in these leagues where I'm like, okay, let me use a modest waiver fab amount, hoping to get them.
Percentage, what's modest percentage?
Right. And then I open it up or I look at the actual fab report, and I'm seeing people put like $600 on dudes and stuff. Now I'm not saying I'm going to do that, but it just shows me how aggressive people can get. And like remember the Marquez Callaway year? Everybody just like put out. So. I look back and they're like, man, they definitely made mistakes, but I see their vision. Because if Callaway was that dude, then I mean, he was worth it. So I definitely am gonna spend the money. I'm not gonna go crazy because I am pretty mindful as far as in season. I'm always just trying to attack that waiver wire and pick up these guys that nobody's looking at or nobody's considering, and just kind of hoping things work out. But if I see a guy like right now, Musgrave is a guy that I'm really hitting hard at. I've seen him in a lot of waiver wires. And I feel like once he shows what most of us think he's gonna be, I mean, by that point his value is gonna keep skyrocketing.
I like that call.
Yeah,
I like that call.
Another guy I'm trying to be semi-aggressive on is Kyron Williams.
Yep.
He's also out there quite a bit as well. Because if them two show what we think they're going to show, then I'm never going to get another opportunity to get them. Now, after that, though, then I get I kind of put my dynasty hat on. I start getting these guys that nobody even knows what their name is, but I'm aware of them because I'm in dynasty, and I start, like Abby was saying, try to get them with these $1, $2 bids.
I got so many, like, just dollar bids out there. I feel like there are so many guys, even in like a deep bench league like the FFPC. They're like I went through all my waivers, and I mean I have like 8, 9, 10 guys that I'm just like would be very, very excited to get. You know, the caveat to this is that I think a lot of people don't consider or talk about, or that where you could like really hurt yourself is like you got to be careful who you are dropping. Sometimes we definitely drop players too early. You know, the same potential that those guys that you were adding have is probably likely the same potential that you saw and the same potential that that player actually has that is currently on your roster.
Well, give me some of those guys who you drafted early, who like you're dropping now.
Malik Davis.
Luckily I didn't land on that one. Jelani Woods was an either, and that, you know, obviously he's been injured, but I mean I don't even know that he was doing anything before the injury. I really have not heard anything about him outside of the fact that he's been injured like pretty much all season. So he's somebody that has been an easy drop because once they go on IR, it's still in the back of my mind that he may be something later on, but he's completely out of everybody else's mind. So I feel comfortable going ahead
being
and
able to get him maybe
field.
like a week or two early.
Exactly. You get him in a week or two earlier. So like that's been one. And then a guy that I like struggle with is Paris Campbell. That's the guy that I struggle with as far as, well, just because like, you know, he could like be nothing, okay? Or he could be that team's leading wide receiver in targets. Like we don't know. You know, and this is when like when it comes to, this is another thing when it comes to Fab, and this is what I've like or waivers that I felt like I've like learned and has helped me out tremendously. You have to remove opinions and priors. Like you really have to open up the idea that okay, this guy could be something, this guy could be something, because those are the dollar ads. To me, those are the dollar ads. So Paris Campbell's been one, but like, and an example of kind of that has been the Colts running back situation. So for me, like, there are a lot of teams, you know, and I've kind of like played around with this. I'm either like putting $1 or, you know, equal amounts on all three when all three are available. You know, Evan Hull, Deion Jackson, Zach Moss, or especially if it's a team where I feel like, okay, I may need some running back help, you know, or I'm like very light at running back. I got a lot of these guys like Tajay Spears, Jalen Warren, or whoever, who I don't necessarily feel comfortable putting in my starting lineup. Then I've really been going in on Zach Moss, honestly.
So
I have him as like my,
So like I was gonna ask, like Zach Moss wasn't really being drafted in those early drafts.
Wait, when is this being aired?
See, but wait, before let me give an alternative view on what you're saying right now. The only pushback I'm gonna have with what you're saying right now is I don't think you'll be able to get any of those guys for dollar bids. Like not one of them.
No.
And the reason I'm saying that is because I don't think dollar bids works on players that there's buzz on, that people are talking about.
Yeah, they're not a dollar bid.
Or there could be starters that week before.
Not even, I don't even care whether they're starting out, but if people are talking about them in the Twitter atmosphere or whatever, the fantasy, whatever, people are not going to, because dollar bids work for players that everybody just not even aware of. Nobody's talking about, nobody's even thinking about. I'm not saying I'm picking them up, but I can get a dollar bid on someone like Eric Gray. The backup running back for the Giants, who you could see could potentially have an opportunity at some point, but nobody's talking about him. The problem with the Colts running back is everybody's been talking about them all week.
But but the perfect thing about it is that like no one really knows. No one's been able to put it. And they even like brought in James Robinson. And you still obviously
that's a workout. It was a work. He didn't.
But even then, it's still something that introduces to the equation. Nobody's really considering James Robinson, but they still brought somebody in. And you still have Jonathan Taylor on the roster. So
everybody's working.
But what I'm saying is, I didn't put in dollar bids on teams where I really wanted them, but I also did not blow Fab on teams where I really wanted them. Because again, I have this long list of players that I would just be happy to get. And the likelihood that all 10 guys are gonna go, that's usually pretty rare. It's usually pretty rare. So it's almost like if I value all of these guys equally, it's not a big thing. But usually, I mean, I'm prioritizing my waivers. So if it's like a team where I need a tight end, Musgrave is getting a significant, bid versus like a team where I'm like, I went like 0 RB, but I'm looking at a Jalen Reed on the waiver. he's not getting a significant bid, but he's still getting bid on.
Right.
You know, price enforcement to some degree.
Don't sleep on K. Dotton. So those dollar bids, I don't think they work now because unless you're just literally just shooting at everything in sight.
Yep.
Like anything that's out there, just see what happens. I think right now anybody that has any type of buzz, whatever, is gonna get a higher bid amount used on them than other. Now, as the season progresses, what I then start to do is I start looking at players that get in these positions where, and we spoke about it before, where they get that 1 injury away or 2 injury away guys. Again, that nobody's talking about. So, like, for instance, if Derrick Henry got hurt this week, okay, everybody's going to be high on Tyjae Spears. It's Tyjae Spears week 2. Like, pick up Tyjae Spears if he's available on waivers and DFS play Spears, whatever. But nobody's going to talk about, like, Chestnut.
Yeah.
The next guy, right? Yeah. When I look at that situation, I'm like, okay, now Chestnut, I can get him for $1 bid. He's now injury away. If Spears gets hurt the next week, I got the guy already. Or even if he doesn't get hurt, if it ends up being like a timeshare, I got the guy already. So that's, I think, when $1 bids start to work. And even if it's a guy that's 2 injuries away, it's just a guy that I can take a look at, and then if it's not worth it, I can throw back in the pool.
Well, I will report to y'all tomorrow if I end up with some winning
right.
Zach Moss
but
$1 bids.
The only cautious tell I'll give people right now is we really don't know how any of these players are going to be as the season starts at the moment. So when you do your waiver ads, again, because when you pick up somebody, you obviously have to drop somebody. Be careful about who you're dropping, because you really don't know what they are yet. You might be dropping somebody that's more valuable than the guy that you're picking up, and that mistake happens all the time, because we're a little bit too confident in our analysis and projections early in the season, and then when it starts to play out, we're like, okay, now we start to understand what's really
I feel like
going
you
on.
have to be even more open-minded both ways with that, and just like, and to kind of piggyback off of that again, like, after all the waivers clear, I'm like the first person. I definitely I'm looking at my team to see who I picked up, but I always look and see who was dropped, and I scroll through and I mark it who was dropped, and that way next waiver run, if it's a guy that I'm that I feel has potential, he'll be a target as well.
Man, let me give you a cheat code for that. So because I'm assuming the guys that you're talking about are going to be guys that are highly owned in other leagues, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So if they're going to be a guy that's highly owned in other leagues, all you really got to do is go to your waiver wire and just click the ownership.
And right now it's
percentage.
automatically set, at least in most leagues that I'm in, to where like that's how it's.
Right.
One of
that's
y'all
how
told me
they're
that last
we said it last year.
Yeah,
they changed everything.
They changed it. But still, I mean, guys get kind of lost in the weeds. Like, it's hard to search through all those guys. What I usually do is I go position by position. To me, that for whatever reason, that helps me out mentally to go position by position and see, okay, quarterbacks are there, running backs are there, tight ends are there. When it's just all positional players, to me, it's very hard to decipher like what's available out there.
So let's also talk about some bold predictions. Listen, we're getting ready for week 1 next week. Well, actually tomorrow. Sorry. We're getting ready for week 1. Let's have some bold predictions on who you guys think is actually going to be league winners at each position. So we've actually seen Kels get banged up. May not be ready tomorrow for week 1. Mark Andrews seems to be healthy, but was dealing with a quad injury all off season. I think Kittle even had.
So you're talking about tight ends?
Tight ends right now.
Okay.
Even Kittle had like a hamstring injury at one point. He looks to be ready to go. Let's talk about tight ends. Like, who do you think is still going to be like the guy that's going to be like the surprise at the tight end position? Surprise.
I mean, we've talked about them already. The Musgraves, the Jawans.
No, but you have to choose one that's going to be a league winner.
A league winner?
A league winner.
That's a different question. Because I think the league winner is like Darren Waller.
Okay, so that's somebody outside of that. So you think Darren Waller is a league winner?
Yeah.
Well, I guess if Daniel Jones does win MVP.
Well, let me preface this by saying more on a tight end premium type league. Remember, tight end premium leagues, the allure for tight ends is the guys that catch the ball a lot.
Right.
If they're just scoring touchdowns, the same value as a standard league. But with tight end premium, because the receptions are increased in value, then if you have a guy that gets a lot of targets, which is what we're assuming is going to happen with Darren Waller, then the value shoots up.
But do you think Darren Waller finishes as tight end 1?
I don't. I still believe in Kels.
Man, even with the injury.
Yeah.
No, man,
Yeah,
no, I'm
so-
not buying anymore.
Well, I mean, it's the
was
offense
kinda-
and the quarterback. So.
It's the offense. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it plenty of times over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plenty of times over. It's just, and it's a team that they've shuffled around their pass catching options, but the one constant has been
One
Kels.
constant.
But look, Waller does not need to beat Kels to be a league winner.
Right.
Because if you drafted Waller, that means you had your first round pick, your second round pick, and depending on the
Maybe
league
your third
format,
round
your
pick.
third, your
I
fourth,
got,
your
I got fifth and sixth round, Waller shares.
Yes, you had
so
to take him at 4.
that means because the obviously, you know, we all notice like the advantage of taking Kelsey where you take Kelsey is not necessarily how many points he scores. It's the difference between how many
Him
points
and the
he
next
scores
guy.
and that number 2 guy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if that difference is not there or that gap is closed, then you just basically you sort of kind of eliminated your
Wasted.
first round pick and wasted your first round pick. So I love the Waller call. For me, since I can't take Waller, I'm gonna go ahead and say Jawan Johnson. Like that is who I can easily see.
Are you not a little bit afraid that this Juwan Johnson hype is similar to the Marquez Callaway hype?
Not at all. Because to me the Marquez Callaway hype was generated by us. It was generated by us. The Jawan Johnson hype, really, I'm honestly, I don't really hear people talking about it. I feel like I'm on an island at times. The Jawan Johnson hype is produced and has been like basically blasted out by everyone on the team and by the beat writers that closely follow that team.
I don't know. The Callaway buzz was pretty high from the team. And
Yeah.
remember the preseason, he was like the number 1 receiver
Yeah.
for that team.
So
like
for-
everybody was kind of like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember hearing much from the team. I just remember thinking to myself, he has to be the guy. Like, he has to be the guy.
I mean,
and then he had the highlight touches. But
Yeah.
the Jawan Johnson thing for me has just been like putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. The quarterback, he was a former wide receiver. He excelled last year. He excelled last year in the red zone. Quarterback likes the tight end. Quarterback's telling his brother, hey, brother asks, who should I draft? He tells him Jawan Johnson. Beat writers that closely follow the team say that like he's
so
been.
let me ask you this. If
But this is a great thing about it, though. He goes in double-digit rounds, so
Yeah.
it's not like you're not having to spend like he's not on waivers, so
Right.
you're not having to spend a lot of money on him. You're not having to spend a lot of draft capital on him. He is basically free. So to me, the hype is not there. Callaway was getting up to like the 6th, 7th round, towards the end. Juwan Johnson does not even touch single-digit rounds.
And there's not much behind him either. I mean, you got Foster Monroe who's behind him.
well, I'm not concerned
and
with what's
Jimmy Graham.
behind him. I'm more concerned with just the pie that they're gonna have to share.
Yeah.
Olave is a second, third round pick. Everybody's high on Olave.
Yep.
If you were to ask who was the main target getter for that team, everybody would most likely say Olave. MT is talking like he's ready to come back. And we've seen MT be what MT is. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be the old MT, but even if he's 75% of that old MT, that's significant. And then let's throw in Kamara, the Pats catching running back that we've seen can produce, wildly if given the opportunity. Throw in Taysom Hill, throw in Jason.
Do you think
Jamal
it means
Williams.
something that they listed Taysom Hill as a quarterback and not a tight end?
I don't care how they list him. They're going to use him however way they want to use him.
Yeah,
they're
but
going
But
to
they
use
thought
him.
about him as strictly a tight end though. Like, why wouldn't they just leave
It
him at
doesn't
tight
matter
end
what
and
they
not?
like the nomenclature of it literally doesn't matter. Like you can label
No, I
guys.
think it matters.
You
I
can
think it
label
matters.
guys no matter what, but it does. All that matters is how you use them.
Yeah.
Because in the past in a season he's played a receiving role and a quarterback role, regardless of how they listed him. They just put him out there.
But he still doesn't run many routes. But the
He doesn't
exercise,
run many routes, right.
But the exercise of kind of going through each player and saying they could do this, they could do that. We could literally do that with every player on every team across the board.
Right.
So, like, my pushback to that would be like, I haven't seen Chris Olave just absolutely dominate targets in a way where he's going to get like 200 targets. So there's plenty of pie left. I've heard nothing but Michael Thomas has not looked like the way he has. Michael Thomas saying anything that Michael Thomas says, I'm just ignoring. I mean, he's been saying stuff for the last 3 years. I'll believe it when I see it. Kamara's the pass catching back. We're not taking anything away from Kamara. Taysom Hill, I'm not worried about in the receiving game. He'll run some routes the way he normally does over the last 5-7 years as he does with them, but it's not anything significant. Again, but my thing is
Shaheed
that
is still there too.
Rashid
And,
Shaheed-
one thing for me is I totally ignore what like beat writers say. Like I don't, I put no value or any kind of onus on any of that stuff. I just look at the facts. right? The
Those
facts
are the
are Olave's there. He was a high draft pick.
But there's gonna be guys there everywhere.
Right, but
There's guys there
hear what I'm
everywhere.
saying. Olave he had a good year last year. You would think going into his second year, most likely he would kind of improve on what he did last year.
Yeah, and I'm expecting
MT
him to.
wasn't even there last year, so you're adding a piece that was major in the past, and you're gonna put him
But
right
that's
back
not
in the
the
fold.
MT of old. He's
We don't
older.
know.
And
We don't know.
We
don't
do
if
know.
he's MT of
We
old.
do know. We do
don't
know. We literally do know.
How do we know?
Because he's multiple years older, coming off a significant injury, and has not looked good.
How do we know? Okay, the last thing you said was subjective. We don't know if he looks good or not
Okay,
because
but
we
I'm
haven't
gonna
seen him
bet.
yet.
I'm gonna bet on the more likely that he's not the MT from 2019.
But again, I don't.
That's the more likely.
I'm more
so
looking
if you're picking a stance, and you're saying that MT's back, you're still being subjective and saying that MT's back.
I'm not saying he's back as in his skill set is back. I'm saying he's just back.
But
he's now an option compared to last year when he
going to
wasn't there.
roster multiple wide receivers, multiple tight ends,
It's
and
not,
multiple
but I'm
running
not
backs.
saying about
We could do that with-
rostering
and we could do
multiple
that with
guys. I'm
every
just saying
team.
there is now a target there this year that was significant in the past that wasn't there last year. That's just a fact.
That's
Michael
not
Thomas,
a fact. That's not a fact.
How is that? Michael Thomas
because
didn't
we
play
don't know
last year.
we don't know that this Michael Thomas commands those targets.
I'm not talking about his skill
He's
set.
a player. You're just
I'm
saying that there's a player there.
No, I'm not talking about the skill set. I'm talking about last year Michael Thomas was not on the team. He was
Okay.
hurt. This year he's there. That's just the fact.
Okay, so last year he wasn't there, but there was another wide receiver there.
Who?
If you're not talking, it doesn't matter who. You said talent
who?
doesn't matter. You said talent doesn't matter. So there was a player, there was a wide receiver
Who?
that lined up there
hear what you're
last year, and if
Who?
and that was replaced by Michael Thomas this year. It doesn't matter who.
But who?
If you're telling me, it doesn't matter what Michael Thomas' skill set is right now, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Who was taking that share last year that was significant?
It doesn't. So now you're being subjective by saying significant.
What I'm saying is now that you have MT there, again, I don't know what's going to happen. All I'm saying is a target that wasn't there last year is there now.
They don't have the same receiving room that they had last year. Some guys came, some guys left.
Who left?
Marcus Callaway left. Some guys.
Michael Callaway didn't do nothing last year.
But
he
this
was
is the
still
thing.
there,
He was
like,
still on
I
the
get what
team.
you're
So
saying, yeah.
some guys were there. What I'm saying is they did not line up in 21 personnel 100% of the time. They did not line up with one wide receiver on the team. So there was a wide receiver there. When there was 3 wide receiver sets, there were 3 wide
listen
receivers
what
on the
I'm saying.
field.
What I'm saying is, whoever was there last year, they didn't take any of the target shares significantly. Like they
What do you mean they didn't take any
They weren't
target
a
shares?
factor.
So
Callaway
how do
was
you
not a
know?
factor.
How do you know that Michael Thomas
I
is going
didn't
to do
say
that?
I know. I never said I know.
But you're kind of
All I'm saying-
presuming that,
okay,
though.
all-
No,
you're presuming
this is what I'm
presuming
saying.
that-
All I'm saying is he is now a target there now. That's just a fact. That's all I'm leaving
Right.
it as.
Okay, there was a target there last year too as well.
But the
That's
target
a
there
fact
last
as
year,
well.
but the target there last year didn't do anything. So now that you have Michael Thomas there, there's a chance he can not do anything. Yes. But there's also a chance he can do something. And there's a chance he can do something significant.
And-
So what I'm saying is when I look at the situation now, a guy that wasn't there last year that nobody else actually produced any
the
kind
si-
of value is now an option for
the
them to have
situation
this
is
year.
not the same. The situation is not the same. They do not have Andy Dalton at quarterback. The situation is not the same.
It doesn't.
It's not
but,
the same.
But who?
That's a huge. That's a
The Andy
huge
Dalton,
difference.
what is that? Andy Dalton has no merit to what I'm even saying right now. All I'm
You're
saying
saying
is,
that the
no,
pie is not the. You're saying that the pie. You're basically saying that there was a pie.
Yes.
And a player took a certain percentage. Well, you have to acknowledge the fact that the quarterback is different, and that pie may be significantly bigger.
That's a maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
And maybe Michael Thomas played
but I'm
one game this year.
But nothing I'm saying is a maybe. I'm only speaking in facts.
And that's a fact that we have Derek Carr now. I'm not saying if he's better. I'm not saying if he's worse.
Okay,
I'm not saying
but
he's going to
that
pass
has
more,
no onus.
but that's a fact.
But
Now
that has
you have a
no
quarterback.
onus to what I'm saying. All I'm saying is the fact is MT wasn't there last year and he's there this year. That's it. Period. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So what I'm saying, this target share or this pie is now being shared by a guy that wasn't taking any of the pie last year. That's all I'm saying. So when I look at this whole situation, I can't go and say, oh, he has a better opportunity or compared to last year, yada, yada, yada. All I'm saying is now this pie that was divvied up last year, you got another mouth to feed now. That's all I'm saying.
I don't necessarily agree with that. You're saying one thing and then you're like contradicting yourself.
What am
by saying that.
What am I contradicting?
You're saying that it doesn't matter how good he is, but now he's here, so he's going to take potentially more shares than the other guy.
I didn't say he's going to take. All I'm saying is there's a target there now that wasn't there last year, period.
And there's a
Literally, I'm
target
leaving
that
it
was
at
there last year that's not there this year.
Who was there last year? And what did
Marquez
they take on the pie?
Callaway.
What did he take out of the pie?
I know. So you're presuming that Michael Thomas's share is going to be larger.
No, I'm saying there's a
than
chance.
Callaway's share.
There is a chance. A guy that wasn't the guy that was there last year didn't take much of the pie. There's a guy that's there now this year that could potentially take part of the pie. All these players can potentially take part of the pie.
Right.
Every single one of them.
Right.
The guy we didn't account for him last year because he wasn't there. Now we have to account for him. Now, if he does something, if he doesn't do anything significant, okay, cool. Then he sucked. But you can't just say there's not a chance he can do something significant.
And we can't just say that them changing the quarterback has no bearing on what you're saying.
I never said that. That's not even what I'm saying. I'm not even talking about the quarterback.
But we're talking about Jawan Johnson.
Okay.
So if we're factoring in like why he could potentially be a league winner, like the quarterback is like a big part of that.
But the quarterback is not even part of the discussion. That's irrelevant to me. All I'm talking about
Sometimes
is the
I
target
feel like
share.
we're getting into the weeds. Like the likelihood that Michael Thomas takes a bigger share or takes more of a share of this offense is higher than Marquez Callaway. I mean, I know that you want to speak in like absolutes, but that's really what he's saying, and it's true. Like
I agree with that.
That Michael Thomas has a higher likelihood of taking more targets away from Chris Olave and from Jawan Johnson.
Agree with that.
Than Marquez Callaway had last year.
I agree with that.
And so, like, how do you account for that? Like when you're drafting Jawan Johnson,
I account for that because again, the quarterback is completely different.
Also, we've never seen Marquez Callaway lead the league in yards and receptions. Whereas we've seen MT do it.
So that,
although it was a long time ago,
exactly. But that's the thing. So when we have these discussions, you can't add caveats to statements like that. You can't introduce a fact and then add a caveat. You can't say he led the league in receiving. Although it was 3 to 4 years ago,
but you're presuming something.
Yes,
too, though.
I am presuming. I am going to stand on the hill and presume that he is not the same player. So the fact that he led the league in receiving in 2019 is absolutely irrelevant. We have not seen that Michael Thomas, and we will never see that Michael Thomas again. I am being absolute with that. If y'all don't want to be, that's cool. I am being absolute with that.
But how can you be absolute though?
I'm being absolute.
But how?
But how? Watch it. You want to put money on it? That's how I can be absolute.
Again, that's why my approach is so different from so many other people. I don't speak in absolutes about anything. I don't know. I embrace the unknown.
Well,
like I'm not gonna say this person's gonna do this or this person's gonna do that because I'm not a fortune teller. None of us are. We literally don't know what's gonna go. Like. Put like this, 3 weeks ago, we probably would have said Cooper Kupp was going to have one of the best seasons, like a top 10 season
That's different,
in the league.
Man.
No, what I'm saying is we don't know what's going to happen. So I can't speak in this is what's going to happen. I can only say this is the facts, this is what I see, and with that being the case, I have to take all possibilities into consideration.
You can't go 0 to 100. You can't take every single possibility into the equation.
Yes, you can. That's what I do.
When you draft, you make an assumption.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
I do not.
Yes, you do.
How you gonna tell me what I'm doing? I'm telling.
When you draft, you make an assumption. When you draft a player at whatever position you're drafting because you think that player is going to help your team win that league.
No, I draft the players because I look at all the possibilities, and when I look at the possibility, like this player, this possibility is something that could benefit me. Okay, I'll go with that. But I also know that there's a chance that doesn't work out, and I make moves with that understanding. Like if this doesn't work out, what's Plan B? What's Plan C? What's Plan D? Yeah. But I'm not drafting saying this is what's going to happen. I'm never going to say that. Y'all say it a lot.
No, nobody's saying that if you draft Jamar Chase, that Jamar Chase can't get hurt.
I'm not talking about whether they can get hurt or not.
When I draft Jamar Chase, I'm drafting Jamar Chase saying that yes, he is going to finish better than if I draft Paris Campbell, which is why I draft Jamar Chase in the first round.
I would never make a comment like that. I would never ever make a comment like that.
You don't have to make a comment like that. Your drafting will prove it. Your actions will prove it. Your words don't matter. Your actions will prove it.
I draft by value. I know. Okay, put it like this. Okay. And I've said this before. Okay, let's take the example you just said. If I was a fortune teller right now, or say I had a time machine and I went to January.
I know where you're about to get.
And I saw Paris Campbell led the league in receptions.
You still wouldn't draft him number 2.
I still wouldn't draft him early.
You still wouldn't.
Because
you know
why would I draft him early when I know I can take him in the 17th, 18th round?
Just take him a couple rounds higher than wherever his ADP is.
Stop it. If you're in a league where you can only draft,
I've been telling y'all this is my approach for years, and y'all literally always ignore me when I say it because I don't believe it.
I don't believe it.
That's how I knew you were going to go.
That's how it is.
You have to make assumptions when you draft. Like
No.
there's a pool of like 1,000 players.
I think
you're not just taking a player.
No,
just like,
I think when you
or else
draft,
go on auto draft.
When you draft, really, it's about understanding how the board falls. Like put like this, and I've been doing my home leagues recently. The way I drafted in FFPC is not the way I drafted in Yahoo.
I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that.
So what I'm saying is,
I'm not arguing that.
So what I'm saying is, the boards, if certain players are valued in certain leagues or certain sites differently than other sites, I'm gonna play the board according to that.
We all do. I'm not arguing that.
So again, that's
that.
what I'm saying. I draft according to value. If I see it, like I like Marvin Mims. I like Marvin Mims a lot. I'm not gonna take Marvin Mims in the first 5 rounds.
You will never take Marvin Mims. If it was a non-draft, like say it was a non-auction, non-snake draft.
I don't do auction.
They just said pick 5 players. I guarantee your 5 players are gonna come from the first 10 rounds and not from the last 5 rounds.
I don't know, man.
Okay.
I would disagree with that.
Okay.
I would disagree with that a lot, actually, because let's start talking about tight ends. Like right now, Musgrave is taking. I don't even know where Musgrave is.
You're not going to take Musgrave over Travis Kelce. Stop.
No, I'm not talking about that. What I'm saying
exactly what I'm talking about.
No, what I'm saying is I don't think Musgrave is going to do better than Kelce. So of course I'm not going to do that. Like
okay,
I think
that's an assumption.
But I think Kelce has
that's
more.
That's an assumption.
No, I think Kelce has more talent. It's not an assumption. I just think he has more talent. That's not what. As far as who's going to finish first, I don't know if Kelce's going to finish before Musgrave. Maybe, but if he doesn't. Okay, I wouldn't be totally surprised. But what I'm saying is Musgrave, if I'm taking him, like Musgrave is like the 12th tight end taken maybe right now. If I had the option of 5 tight ends, if you just take 5, I would probably take Musgrave in those top 5.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm saying.
But I'm not.
I'm asking Kelce versus Musgrave. You're going to take Kelce
because I think Kelce is more talented than Musgrave.
Okay, exactly.
So why
you think?
So what
you think?
But I'm not saying what I think is going to happen. I'm not saying
it's not about
how
what
the
you think.
season is going to play out. I'm talking about talent.
Those are semantics.
No, it's not semantics. Talent and output is 2 totally different subjects. If I say a guy is more talented, that doesn't mean I'm also saying that guy is going to do better than that player in the season. I can give you plenty of examples of players that I think are way more talented that don't do shit during the season. Easily.
Man, the game, the name of the game is win.
So you're trying to get
win.
You just said the name of the game is to win. To win, you have to score points. You don't win by talent. Just because you have a guy on your team that's talented, that doesn't.
I never said that.
So when you say
I draft a player because I think he's going to score the most points.
When you say Kelce and Musgrave, I think Kelce has more talent than Musgrave easily. But if Musgrave outscores Kelce, I wouldn't be surprised, and I can literally say that about every single player.
But that statement, the last statement that you made, is irrelevant. I'm not saying that there's not a range of outcomes. I'm not saying that something is definitively going to happen. I'm not saying Kelce is absolutely going to outscore.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying that when I'm on the clock, I have to make a decision. And I have to use some subjective opinion.
We literally
to
just
make that
spoke
decision.
about being on the clock. It's the way the boards fall.
Okay, Kelce, and you still have to make a decision.
No, but if I like a player and I know I can get him later in the draft,
I'm not talking about value.
Listen to me. Listen to me. If I think a player is going to be the number 1 player in the league, number 1 guy, but I know his ADP is in the 12th round, and I still think he's going to score the most points, why would I take him any earlier than that?
That's not what we're arguing.
It is what we're arguing because you're talking about being on the clock, and I'm trying to tell you the way I view players. I'm not going to draft the player higher than another player only because I feel like he's going to score more points.
Not what
I draft players because this is the range where I know he goes, so I'm going to take him here.
So you draft every single player on the board?
Do I draft every single player on the board?
Are there players that you fade?
Yeah. Because I think they suck. Okay. What I tell you all the time, such and such player sucks.
We go to the next topic.
You're not making your point. Like I said, I don't draft because I think such and such thing is going to happen. I'm never going to.
Those are semantics.
No, let me finish what I'm saying. Y'all can go through every single episode we've ever did about this show. I'm never the one that's going to say this player is going to do this or that player is going to do that. I don't care about that. I draft according to value. If a player is value high and I maybe want him on my team, then I know if I want to get him, I have to draft him high. Like, again, going back to your Paris Campbell, I like Paris Campbell. I know y'all were talking about him a second ago. Actually, Paris Campbell's going to have a good season. But I'm not going to take Paris Campbell higher than where he goes. That would be stupid. It literally would make no sense.
No, I got you. Like,
So,
I knew where you were going with that. So that's
I mean, I've been saying it forever. And we always have this argument as if I'm lying. But in reality, that's just the way I view
But we
the way
all
to draft.
everybody drafts like that. Everybody has sleepers. Nobody's taking their sleeper in the first
No,
round.
it's
That's not what I'm
a
arguing
sleeper.
about.
I'm not saying he's a sleeper.
Ignore
Sleeper's totally different.
sleeper. What I'm saying, even if I think a guy is going to score a lot of points, or I feel like a guy is super talented, or whatever I want to say about a guy that I really like, and he's going later, nobody is taking. And he goes like say he goes in the 15th round. Nobody is taking him in the first round. Nobody's doing that. That's what I'm saying. I'm not even having an argument with you. That's not what I'm arguing.
You're saying the way you draft determines how you value players, and I'm saying that's not the case. What I'm saying is the way the boards are falling is determine how I draft the player. Like I said, let's go back to the thing I was saying with Waller. When I was taking Waller, I was taking him in the 5th or 6th round. I liked Waller. I like Waller the same amount now, but now Waller's going in the 3rd and 4th round. If I want Waller on my team, I have to take him in the 3rd and 4th round. I don't view him any differently. I view him literally the exact same way. But I know to get him on my team, I can't take him the way I was taking him before.
Can we get to running backs, guys?
Go ahead.
Can we get to running backs?
Go ahead.
All right. Let's talk about running backs who you think are going to be a surprise, maybe league winners. Who finishes RB1?
Who finishes RB1?
Mm-hmm.
You want to take that one first?
We just had a conversation.
That's the hardest one to choose, right?
I don't do that. So I
can't do that.
Like, that's the wrong type of question to ask me. There's running backs I like.
Yeah, but you gotta predict one. It's okay if you're wrong, but if you had to choose
that is
one
a
right now,
hard.
that's
question.
the hardest one to choose because
That is the
running backs
hardest
get
one.
injured. It depends on their role in the offense this given season.
Can I give two or do I give one?
just one, man? Come on, like it's a hard decision. You got to pull a lever on the one.
Give me Tony Pollard.
Oh, so now you're on a Tony Pollard train.
I've always been on
As
Tony
the
Pollard
running
train.
back one?
As a running back one.
Wow.
As a running back one.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah, I just think that the way
Okay.
that I'm looking at it is how this offense is going to run, and
How is the
now
offense going to run?
I've been staunch. I've been like basically on this from the get go. I do not think this is a running team. I think that the offense is going to run through Dak. I think it's going to be mostly a passing team. I think they're going to have those 3 wide receivers out there. They're not going to be able to stack the boxes. Defenses aren't going to want to stack the boxes, and I think they're going to use Tony Pollard in the passing game quite a bit. But the kicker is now I feel very, very comfortable that he's getting the far majority of the red zone work. So if he can eclipse 65 and even 70 plus catches, 70 plus is the higher end, and he gets double-digit touchdowns, he finishes as a running back one for me.
If they want a West Coast offense, I can see it. Who do you think RB1? Because I don't see Tony Pollard. I just don't think he can stay healthy long
Man,
enough.
again, you can't have me these type of questions.
Or because I think it's going to really come down to health, right? Like,
Of course.
Like there's going to be some running back who's going to play the majority of the games and maybe miss one game, and that's probably going to be the RB1.
I mean, health, of course, workload, things that we can't predict right now.
Right.
So that's why a question like that, again, I mean, there's guys I like, and I like them because of their talent. Like, I like Barkley because, of course, C-Mac I love because of his talent. Eckler I love for his talent. Chubb is okay. I like Chubb. I've always liked Chubb, but finishes as a running back one. For me, to see Chubb finish as running back one, that means other running backs had down years.
He's got to have like a Derrick Henry type year, and he's not getting the Derrick Henry type volume.
Yeah.
So again, it's workload. So if they have if he has the Derrick Henry workload, I can see it. But I don't know if he's going to get the Derrick Henry workload. So I don't know, man.
Don't sleep on Ramondre Stevens. Listen,
No, I'm not as big on Ramondre Stevens as the field.
It tells me something that they're only going in with 2 running backs, and the other running back is Zeke. So that means that they feel really
So
comfortable.
I used to think like that. I used to think when players or when teams had a certain amount of guys in a position group on their roster, that means that, there's people are going to get this crazy workload or whatever. But now I kind of look at it as, with the way these practice squads are being built, they can call up a guy any game.
Any game.
And that guy can
Any
be
game.
used.
Any game.
They
So
can, but
they
let
got 2
guys
guys.
Who's the
down,
guy?
but-
Ty Montgomery that everybody was worried about?
They
He
can
got
bring up
injured?
Ty
Like,
Montgomery.
They literally
bring up Kevin Harris. They can bring up just randomly. We're just calling.
and that's
call
an
this guy
organization
up.
to do it.
Yeah.
I've been so scared to draft Ramondre.
Like there's
all
teams.
offseason.
I think the Colts have 3 wide receivers on the
Yeah.
roster
So
right
this
now.
is I wanted to talk about the Patriots. It's funny because you wanted to talk about the Patriots wide receiver, and I was like, man, I don't want to talk about the Patriots wide receivers. But we probably still need to talk about the Patriots wide receiver. But actually, to me, it's the Patriots tight end. When you kind of like look at everything that's been happening, I don't know what's going on with Juju. Okay, I don't know whether or not to believe that statement, but based on his previous play, based on previous injury,
What statement?
that his knee may explode any second.
Who said that?
I don't know. But
Like he got hurt during the preseason?
Yeah, no, he's not gotten hurt. But I've never been a Juju guy to begin with. Mm-hmm. To me, Kendrick Bourne is Kendrick Bourne. Okay, Tyquan Thornton, who's kind of had, I've heard some good things, heard
Is
some
he
bad
on
things.
IR?
He's on IR.
He's on IR. Okay.
And then they bring in Bob.
They bring who?
What's his name? Bob.
Who's Bob?
I don't know who Bob is.
OC.
Who's Bob?
Bill Brown.
Bill. Yeah.
Yeah, I know his name.
Yeah. Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, so they bring in O'Brien, who's last time he was there. Mm-hmm. Again, obviously they're not Gronk and they're not Hernandez, but that was the last time he was there. Remember, OCs to me don't just completely change everything that they do. But if you look at this team, like them bringing in Gesicki and them bringing in Hunter Henry and like hearing like the, kind of what's been going on in camp in terms of who Mac has been like favoring. Henry goes super, super late. Mm-hmm. This is an offense that like really is lacking in somebody who, to me, really demands targets. Like, don't sleep on those Patriots tight ends. Like, they may lead this team in receptions.
All right, guys. So presumably y'all are done drafting or close to done drafting. Have you gone back to look at like who you have like a high ownership percentage of, who you've been, kind of leaning on, and then, sort of like indirectly fading, like who you don't have a lot of shares on? Like, have you gone back to look at your teams since this?
Yeah. I told myself this year I was going to be a little bit more, precise, more calculated with making sure that I diversified where I want. And I really didn't do that. I honestly didn't do that. I think I pivoted where I felt like I needed to pivot, whether it was Dayo or any of the guests that we've had on who kind of really, had, an argument or saw something in preseason or heard something somewhere. Maybe a couple guys here or there where I tried to kind of add. But for the most part, it's really, I've just been like, the same guys that I loved coming into the season when it was like February, March.
Yeah.
Are the same guys that I've still been pounding the table for now. So, yeah. The tight end position, you already know. Juwan Johnson is up there. Mm-hmm. Hayden Hurst is up there. Unfortunately, Jelani Woods early on in the offseason was up there, so I've had to correct that a bit. Wide receiver, Marvin Mims is my top. He's just someone, kind of going back to the talent discussion. He's just somebody that was just a very, very easy add for me. I was kind of fading that tier of just like questionable handcuffs. Mm-hmm. And I'm really glad that I did because a lot of those guys I think aren't even being drafted right now. And then Keenan Allen's up there as well. Mm-hmm. Running back wise, it's kind of been spread out running back wise. I would definitely say Rashad White is up there. I'm going to take a look right now. Oh, sorry, J.K. Dobbins is actually my highest owned running
that's
back.
Interesting, considering that he was kind of banged up.
So that's the thing, is that's been sort of kind of the narrative. But really, has he been banged up?
Well, he hasn't been practicing, right?
Contract.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say, but at no point did they ever say he really had an injury. When he came back in the building, he was on the practice field the very next day. You've heard nothing about he didn't end the season with an injury. In fact, he ended the season very strong. That playoff game, we've talked about this in the past. Like, I love watching playoffs, but I also, specifically playoffs, but also like the last 3 games of the season because you see a lot. That's when teams sort of kind of do kind of a talent showcase of some of the younger guys. But that's also when teams, especially teams that are fighting for playoff positions or teams that are in the playoffs fighting for a Super Bowl, that's when you see who they really care or who they really lean on or who they really trust. And watching how J.K. performed in that playoff game was a real eye-opener to me. I don't know what to expect from this offense, but one thing that I've tried to approach in drafting this offseason is, man, really go after offenses that I feel like have the potential to be a top 10 offense towards the back end of the season. And if not, then really wait on drafting those guys towards the back end.
Yeah.
So the guys I've got a high amount of shares of are your Marvin Mims, your James Conner, who I've been high on. He's starting to kind of creep up a little bit, but there was a time he was going really, really late, and I was kind of grabbing up a whole bunch of shares. The committee B backs, your Algiers, your Roshans, your Chuba. And a lot of people ain't on Chuba. Chuba's still kind of going late, but again, it kind of goes back to when I was just kind of watching practice reports and seeing how many reps Chuba was getting with the first team. I think he's a player that's going to get a lot more usage than what the community assumes. I may be wrong, but there's a chance there. And the only other option on the team was Blackshear. So it's 3 guys to choose from. And it might be Blackshear, honestly, but and then with Miles having that groin injury, I was just kind of grabbing a whole bunch of shares of him. And let's see, and then your New Orleans defense.
What do y'all think about the receivers with the Panthers? Like, have y'all touched any of the?
I think they're all hurt right now.
Yeah, but like, have you drafted any Panthers receivers?
No. That's why I've been going at the Hurts, really. Just kind of seeing the void there. I'm just not a Adam Thielen. I think like he'll start off the season and be serviceable. But then I think he's just just seeing what I saw last year. He's just somebody kind of gives me the Allen Robinson type vibes. Not as bad, but something close to that. And so I just been avoiding them.
If I was to take a stab on any of them, it would be Mingo. Because everybody else on that team, we've seen them. We know what their talent level is to some extent. We know who they are, kind of. We don't know who Mingo is yet.
Yeah.
That's my highest on as well. Out of 3.
Really, I kind of have that mindset with a lot of these rookie receivers. Like, we really don't know. And if they end up being breakout stars, then this is probably the cheapest we're ever going to get them.
Yeah.
Kind of like the year when Jamar Chase was a rookie. I think he was going like 6th round.
Yeah,
6th, 7th round. I was getting a whole bunch of him because I was just high him from his LSU days, and now the guy's top 3 in drafts. So we're never going to be able to see. We're never ever going to see a 6th round Jamar Chase. Maybe not. I don't know. He might have the MT career arc.
Yeah. But you never know, man.
For a couple years and trash.
All the time is undefeated.
Yeah, you never know.
But so those are the guys I've been kind of attacking.
Yeah. I only have 2 teams, so
you only have 2 teams.
I only have 2 football guys teams. Yeah.
Oh, really? Fantasy pros.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Consolidated.
Okay.
Hey, as long as you got one bullet, just make sure it's a magic bullet.
That's it. 2 teams. So
yeah,
and it's pretty much the same guys. Like, I kind of diversified a little bit, but not really.
Hey, you got time, man. You got time.
No.
I do think with tournaments, it's probably smart to be assertive on your targets, especially when you have multiple, or if you have few teams, because okay, these are guys you feel like are going to be the ones that actually get you to where you're trying to get as far as being at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah.
So it's not as beneficial to diversify in your stance, Chris. But I haven't done it. There's certain guys I just fade because I just don't think they're good. And kind of going back to the discussion me and Abby were arguing about earlier, my thing is it's really, do I think you're good or do I think you're trash? That's really all it is. Like I don't care about the role, the offense. Do you have talent? Because if I can bet on a guy that has talent, once the role gets locked in, then I think that's the type of player
that's how I feel about Juwan.
Kind of break out.
But I feel like I got my guys in this draft. You know what? Screw it. Rate my board, man. Rate my board. 10th position. Started off with Diggs. Got Garrett Wilson. Keenan Allen.
Darren Waller?
Darren Waller in the 4th.
How old is the draft?
I think in August, early August.
This is nice.
So tell me, rate my board.
I've seen the first 5. I like it. So you started off with Diggs, Wilson. I love that combination. That's very hard to get these days. Allen, late 3rd. Okay, I like that. To me, he's a top end, or at least a wide receiver 1. Darren Waller, we've already talked about. Rachaad White, that's kind of one of my guys, and I like that you got him in the late 5th.
I think he's going to lose his job, man.
Potentially, but And then you got Alexander Madison. That's the one with a little. See, if you're going to go Rashad White, I think maybe there's when I would have maybe kind of went a little bit different. You know, that's real fragile there at running back. Marquise Brown, we talked about. We just, we don't. Who knows though?
If I could take that
who
one
knows?
back, I would change.
But
that.
who knows? And the thing is that you got him like late in the 7th. Okay, you passed on Jordan Addison. You passed on Jahan Dotson, Elijah Moore, Sky Moore, Gabe Davis. So we'll see. We'll see with that one. You waited on quarterback. I think I would have liked to see you have waited.
That's
a
good
little bit
value on
longer.
Tony. That's real good.
Yeah,
value
you
on
got Tony. So and that's the thing. It's like doesn't matter that nobody's going to hit on every single pick. You got Herbert late. I know you've been a Herbert guy, so that's good for you for getting those late shares. And then I do like the Kendre Miller pick here because like if one of those other guys loses their job, potentially he's a guy that like wins the job later on. I think it's a low potential, but you want to take those darts. I'm not a Gus Edwards guy this year. I got to dock you points for your Isaiah Hodgins pick.
And I got my boy. I got my boy.
But you got our boy Marvin Mims.
I got my
so you
boy.
get double points for that. You get double points for that. Malik Davis. See, I tried to put you on. You didn't want to listen. And then the Pierre Strong. See, this is that round that I was talking about.
Yeah.
This is that round that I was talking about. And look where you took Malik Davis in the 16th. So again, going back to kind of Deo's, like what Deo's been saying for years, like especially like early on where we just don't know, like unless it's just like absolutely clear cut.
Yeah.
Man, don't draft those guys. Like, just go for like guys who potentially can help. And those guys may not be anything, but I think all in all, like I don't understand the Logan
What's
Thomas
your
pick.
why are you so high on Young Koo?
Oh, because like I think he's accurate. I think he's in an offense that won't be great in the red zone as well. Like I think they can move the ball in a weak division, but won't be good in the red zone. So I always try to target those types of kickers where like they can get in the red zone but not really accurate. And I think.
Do you think you weren't going to be able to get him later?
Oh yeah, damn! You took him in the 17th round.
Like over Bass and Carlson?
That was unnecessary.
He got his guy. I'm just kind of thinking about.
Why did I take
I'm
him
wondering
so
about
early?
your thought
That was
process.
I don't know why I took him that early,
That
to
was
be honest.
unnecessary.
Okay.
I
And
don't
then you
know.
believe who's Denver playing first week? Do you remember?
Vegas.
I think like they were just the best available, to be honest.
Look, we like Darren Waller, but let's not ignore Darren Waller's age and his injury history. I'm not a fan of that you waited on tight end, so I would definitely be looking at the waiver wire and making sure that like you load up on some like younger tight ends.
You could have got Musgrave on the 18th, bro.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah, but this was like a while
I
ago.
know.
But that's the thing. That's why like avoiding some of these guys and just getting some of these guys that that like are questionable but may actually have roles. I don't know.
Why did I take my kicker so early?
I don't know.
Probably had no other option. You were just
Probably nutted up on the clock.
Yeah, I think I did.
It was like 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I don't know why I took him that early.
But no, all in all, I mean, like, look, you got a team that's going to compete the first week to start the year. You just got to waivers, man. Attack waivers.
So here's
Attack
my
waivers.
thing, yeah, and Abby's actually saying it right now. Like, no matter how you build your team, I haven't stressed it this season. I should have done it more, but just build a viable team, and then mold your team to where it needs to be by the end of the season, man.
Yeah.
That's really where the work really comes into play. I think people focus on the draft so much, and they just like they try to make this perfect draft. I don't think you can do a perfect draft, but I think you can adjust any type of team if you build it right. And this is a team you can make some adjustment and be on top. Like, and then guys can be dropped on the waiver wire. Like Dave was saying, Tyreek Hill was dropped the year he won.
Yeah,
you
that's
can
crazy.
add him to your team and it'll be great. So I think you'll be fine. You just have to grind that waiver wire, like Abby's saying.
Yeah, man. If you don't hate waivers, that means you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta hate because just like you said, like it's about perfecting your team. And literally, like every single waiver run, I'm trying to perfect this team. You got to go through every single team and look at what can I do to make this team better. Because usually there is something.
Yeah.
Whether it's kicker and defense, whether it's a running back, whether it's a sleeper, like usually there's something. And then sometimes you got to like force yourself not to do anything, but there still should be that thought process there. That's what makes having so many teams so hard if you really truly want to be competitive, because you really have to approach waivers with that intensity. And man, it sucks.
And one thing I've noticed is people get burned out on their waivers.
Yes, yes.
And they get, I don't know, I guess I could say lazy, but they just kind of just stop trying as much. And that's when I go harder.
Yeah.
You know, that's when I'm like, all right, now it's like, now I'm able to just kind of shoot fish in a barrel type thing and kind of go there.
But all right, so y'all wasn't too bad on my board. All right.
I mean, it's fine.
I'll take
your first few picks was solid. Those first 4. Again, I think Sean Tucker might be more significant. And we haven't talked about Sean Tucker, but I think he might be a lot more significant this year. Because I think the only reason he didn't get drafted was just because of the heart condition. But once if he can kind of get his feet under him and show the type of talent people assumed he was going to have, again, this is the dynasty hat I have on, people assumed he was going to have going into the college season this year, then he can be a real player on that team.
I think he might be still available on the waiver, so I might.
He probably is.
He
probably is.
He's been one of the top.
I mean,
waiver
they've already promoted him to second string.
But I
running
don't.
back.
To me, that wasn't like a major thing. Chase Edmonds sucks.
Yeah,
we don't need to see it.
But they talked up
And
Keyshawn Vaughn.
Keyshawn Vaughn sucks.
Right. They do suck, but
when you talk
but
about
he
like,
showed that he doesn't suck like they suck. Like, and he's impressed them, you know.
Who, Keyshawn Vaughn?
No, I'm saying Sean Tucker
Oh yeah,
showed.
yeah. I was a huge Sean Tucker fan.
Yeah.
I was a huge Sean Tucker fan coming out. So he's definitely been like a top target. But he didn't have to like overcome much.
Yeah.
I have a dynasty guy.
All right.
I told y'all about him, but I actually meant to bring him up last week. And I'm mad that I didn't bring him up because literally the next day we got the Jeff Wilson news. Literally the next day. And I was like, God, I had him on my list. I forgot to bring the list with me.
Yeah.
But Chris Brooks, running back
right.
for the Dolphins, he looked very good in preseason. All the other running backs at the time were Devon A-Chain was hurt. But the guy, he has a different style than the other running backs they have on that team. And I'm not saying this is actually what happened, but there is a theory out there that the reason the Dolphins put Wilson on IR because they were very comfortable with what they had in Brooks. Like very, very comfortable. I mean, remember, he's an undrafted guy that made the 53.
Yeah.
That's not common at all. You know, so if
right,
you're in
giving us some
Dynasty,
news.
look up Chris Brooks. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he actually gets a significant role on this team.
All right, guys. I think that's our episode. That's our season finale.
Yeah.
Please
That's
like.
it?
That's it.
That's it.
Damn. That's
See y'all
it.
next year.
That went fast.
Please like, rate, subscribe. We're out.
Keep grinding and stay ready, man.
Yes, sir.
You know how to show up right on time, never late. You're everything I want, don't play. You're everything I need, don't change the way you feel. And baby,